We see Fernando, a man who blends an artistic nature with a practical mindset. Even though his appearance may not suggest much at first glance, he is very smart. After a busy day, Fernando finds himself under a heavy rain, and he stops to light a cigarette for a couple of minutes and waits for the heavy rain to cease. As he lights the cigarette, a car drives by really fast and wets him. Fernando throws his cigarette on the street, but it is carried away by the water current that has been forming due to the rain. Fernando decides to follow the cigarette and he tracks it until it falls through the drainage. When Fernando stops, his gaze is attracted to a bank called Banco Rio. Fernando suspects that the sewers are running just below these drains near the bank, and he runs from drain to drain until he finds where the water ends up. An idea is already forming in his mind. The next morning, Fernando meets with his mate Sebastian and talks to him about his crazy idea, which is not yet clearly portrayed. Sebastian states that he should call Fernando crazy and stupid, but he is not going to do so because he is probably stupid himself. Sebastian wants to know more about Fernando's idea, but he also knows that they are going to need some tools. Since he is broke, he prompts Fernando to find somebody who will fund him. Right next, Fernando meets with a man named Debaza inside a church, but he is disappointed to hear that this man has no money to fund his operation. However, Debaza refers him to a guy named Mario. Mario is a con artist and a thief. When the two of them meet Mario, who tells Fernando that he works better when he works alone, so maybe he will not be interested in his suggestion. On the other hand, Fernando remarks that Mario got arrested many times because he mainly focuses on making small robberies, but Fernando has something better to offer him. A single heist that will set them up for life. Mario is interested and wants to learn more, so Fernando takes him to the bank. A few feet away from the bank, Fernando rolls a tape inside the drainage, and then he and Mario walk in the sewers until they find the tape. Fernando states that they are a few feet away from a bunch of millions of dollars. Twice a day the water in the sewers is in a low level so they can use the timing to work and open a hole that they will later use as an exit from the bank. Their plan will be stalled if it rains, so they have to watch the weather forecasts every day. The next day, Fernando meets with Mario and Debaza to tell them that the bank is equipped with motion detectors. He has installed the same motion detectors in his own house to learn how they work, and he has figured out that they do not detect movement but rather changes in the temperature. He wears a red suit and proclaims that these suits are used by people who climb very high mountains, but they also work in tricking the motion detector as it cannot pick up the change in human temperature. Fernando announces that they now need a map of the bank, so he gets to work the next morning. After walking and taking pictures outside the bank, he enters the bank and takes pictures from as many angles and spaces as he can. However, the security guards see him, and they take him along to the basement to check on him. The security guards check his camera, but they can find nothing because Fernando has removed the memory card, and he is holding it in his hand. The security guards apologize to him, and Fernando is free to go. At the same time, Fernando has seen the basement with his own eyes, which is a plus for him. Fernando creates the map and shows it to his friends, who are also going to be his colleagues soon. Over the next couple of nights, Fernando uses several means to measure the exact distance between the drainage and the bank. Then he uses his skills in geometry to come up with some valuable conclusions. As he discusses with Mario, he states that he does not view what they are doing as extremely unethical. The bank is going to suffer some losses, but they are going to recover anyway. As for the people, the bank will be forced to refund them, so no harm will be done to them. Mario jokes with him, saying that he should write a note for the people whose money will disappear when they carry out the heist in order to explain to them his train of thought. The next stop for the team is the sewer, and they start digging. When they get out of there, the team spins some ideas about how to open the safes, but Fernando does not like those ideas because they either take too much time or energy. In either case, they are not going to steal much money, so they have to come up with something better to resolve their problems. Mario visits the bank and pretends he has a safe in his name. The clerk opens the safe for him, and Mario notices the model of the lock. Now that he knows it, he may be able to find a way to crack more safes in less time. Later the team continues working on the tunnel, but now it is time for them to start digging upward. Fernando states that they are going to need a tool that costs $3,000. This tool makes precise calculations and will ensure that their hole opens in the right place. Avoiding any unpleasant surprises, Mario says that they can steal the tool, but Fernando speaks against that idea because he believes there is a natural balance in the world. They can't just go out there and steal everything. Sebastian ends their debate by explaining that he is going to create the tool himself by just putting pieces of other tools together. The next day, the team has stolen a minivan, and they are waiting for another accomplice to appear. Mario tells the driver to keep the engine running because they might need to drive away since their accomplice is not coming. Like a prophecy. Mario's words play out, and two policemen appear to check on the vehicle. The driver gives them the necessary paperwork, and the policeman notices that this car belongs to somebody else. The man lies, saying that the van belongs to his uncle. At that moment, the other accomplice appears with his female friend, who knows one of the neighbors, as it appears a granny has called the police because the van looked suspicious to her. In any case, the future bank robbers are free to go. The team continues working on the tunnel, but a piece of the tunnel collapses, destroying the tool they use for measurements, even though this is not a big deal because they have already gotten some of the work done. Mario is angry at Fernando because he is not clearly telling him if he knows how to crack the big safe in the bank. Mario states that he has been very patient with Fernando till now, but he requires a clear answer because he is not just risking his safety, but he is also investing money in this operation. Fernando admits that he has no idea yet how to open the big safe inside the bank, which makes Mario angry and results in him walking away that night. Fernando chills with his friend to smoke some drugs and gaze at the stars as they look at the night sky. Fernando remarks that some of these stars might actually be dead, and they are only watching them because their light takes many years to travel near the Earth. His friend comments that it seems like these stars exist, but they do not. That gives Fernando an idea, and he visits Mario immediately. He proclaims that banks are equipped with security systems and protocols for many cases. They have safety measures on when they are closed, and they have safety measures on when they are open to the public. In both cases, it is difficult to perform a bank heist, but what happens when both cases are combined? Fernando suggests that they should enter the bank as common thieves on a day when the bank is open. The police will assume that they are just performing a heist, but the thing is they are not going to exit from the front door. Instead, they will use the hole they are digging as an escape route. Entering the bank on a workday solves yet another problem for them. The big safe is going to be open. When the time comes, Fernando and his company enter the bank, and they begin the operation after threatening everyone to get on the ground. They lock the bank's parking lot. Fernando grabs a random person and steps foot outside the bank to show the policeman that he is serious and he does not want them doing anything reckless. Then he and Mario use a woman who works at the bank as bait to get the security guard out of his locked room. They threaten that they will kill the woman if the guard does not get out. Since the woman is crying to stay alive, the security guard steps outside his locked room. Mario empties his gun and gives it back to him before kicking the guard out of the bank. Then the crew takes care of the cameras so they will not have any prying eyes on them. Right next, Fernando and Sebastian get a big tool from the trunk of their car in the parking lot. A flashback shows us that they have been trying this tool. What it does is that it pushes the locker of the small safes in and breaks it. It takes only 7 seconds for this tool to break a small safe, which is good news for Fernando and his crew. Back in the present, Fernando and Sebastian starts using the tool. While more police forces are gathering just outside the bank while the operation unfolds, the man in charge from the side of the police, Miguel Cilio, calls the security guard's phone because he has been informed that the robbers held it. Mario picks up, and Miguel asks him if he is the man in charge. A flashback is triggered and shows us that Fernando gave Mario a police negotiation manual that he got from a jury friend of his. Mario is supposed to read this manual in order to know how to reply and negotiate with the police. However, he does not believe he is able to do this because the only thing he knows how to do is how to enter buildings and steal stuff. Fernando insists that he can study this manual, and it is going to be like he is playing a role. Mario agrees to be the one who will negotiate, and he even joins an acting group to learn some stuff about acting and embody the role of the negotiator. Back in the present, Mario hears some footsteps moving on the roof of the building, so he assumes that the police are sending men on the roof. Mario starts speaking first, and he states that he is going to start killing hostages if the policemen do not leave the building. At the same time, Miguel is informed that men from an elite team called El Gaita is arriving, so he tells his men to leave the roof as they do other men from the El Gaita's team mount the roof, but Miguel still tells Mario that his men are off. Mario is happy and asks to see the negotiator. Miguel shows himself to Mario while he asks him to let some old people who were stressed out hostages out of the bank. Mario tells him that he already let the security guard leave the bank unharmed, so they have nothing else to talk about for the time being. Inside the bank, a young man asks Mario to go to the bathroom because he needs to pee. Mario notices this guy has lost it, so he calls Miguel for a quick chat. Miguel asks him to release one hostage in order to show everybody that he wants the situation to be resolved in a peaceful way. Mario does just that and releases this young man. Miguel approaches the man and starts asking him questions such as how many robbers he saw inside the bank or where the hostages are being kept. However, the young man is so nervous that he can't utter a single word. On top of that, he peed on himself. Later, a cell phone rings inside the bank, and Mario asks who it belongs to. A grandma speaks up and says the phone belongs to her. Today it is her birthday, and somebody is probably calling her to wish her a happy birthday. Mario gives her some sweets, and then he releases her, asking her to tell Miguel what a good guy he is. Mario calls Miguel for another talk, and the leader asks him, "How is the situation inside the bank?" Mario claims that he and his boys just entered the bank for a quick robbery, but they stall and things get messy. Now Miguel wants to convince him that the best course of action for the robbers is to turn themselves in because, as time goes by, things become even more complicated. Mario comes up with a fake story and says that he served 15 years in prison, which means he does not want to go back. Miguel replies that he has some powerful friends in the police, and they're going to make sure that Mario will only get a couple of months in prison. Mario plays his game and tells Miguel that he's going to convince his crew to turn themselves in. In the meantime, Fernando and Sebastian are emptying more of the small safes, but the tool they are using overheats and they have to wait until it cools down. Miguel calls Mario again with a judge on his side, but Fernando notifies Mario that their machine is broken down and they need more time. Mario buys more time for his crew by saying that this particular judge did not help him at all in court. Supposedly, he sentenced him to 15 years of prison, and he was laughing while Mario was being taken away. Mario takes it further and he says that they need to communicate with his lawyer. They should call him and say they are calling in behalf of the man in the gray suit. Nonetheless, the number Mario gives them belongs to a phone they found inside the bank and the name of the lawyer fake. The judge calls the supposed lawyer to ask him to come to the scene, but the one who picks the phone up is Mario. Meanwhile, the battering ram Sebastian issuing breaks down again while the alarms on the clocks of the robbers start clicking, which means that it is time for them to leave. Fernando tells everybody to transfer the money hand by hand, and then he says that it is time for them to leave. Mario calls Miguel and asks him if he called the lawyer. Then he asks Miguel to order some pizzas for them because they got hungry as they speak. Miguel signals an officer to call the supposed number of the lawyer, and the phone rings just behind Mario as he is on the phone with Miguel. The negotiator tries to understand why Mario is trying to buy time for the robbers. When the CEO of the bank comes to the scene, Miguel asks him if there are any other exits from the bank, but the man tells him that there are not. In the meantime, the robbers are moving the money through the tunnel and the bags end up on a couple of boats that the robbers are using because the water levels are high. As Miguel is trying to get into their minds, he takes a look at the drainage and suspects that maybe this has something to do with the sewers back inside the bank. Fernando lays the weapons on a red blanket for the police to find when they come in the bank. A flashback shows us that Mario played a game with the members of the crew before the operation, aiming his gun around because supposedly somebody leaked info on the operation. However, his gun is fake, just like the ones they are going to use during the operation. Alberto believes that using fake guns is a stupid idea, but Fernando states that his plan is perfect and they do not need real guns because something bad might happen. Mario supports him, saying that since they believed it, other people will believe it too. Miguel informs the commander about his thoughts, saying that Mario's cell phone is not getting any signal and the robbers are not taking the pizzas. He also assumes that the robbers are going to use the sewer to escape. Despite his warnings, the man is not about to act on his hypothesis soon. The relatives of the victims start receiving phone calls from their loved ones from inside the bank, and now everyone realizes that the robbers are gone. The police storm into the bank and Mull is able to find the hole the robbers used to escape. However, the hole is blocked with a grenade, and Miguel is hesitant to touch it. However, he is informed by his colleagues that all the weapons used by the robbers are fake, so he also assumes that this grenade is fake. Miguel grabs it with his hands and jumps into the hole. The robbers make it to their final destination, where the van is waiting for them. Their plan is genius. As they climb through the drainage, the driver of the van is waiting for them just above it. He opens a hatch on the bottom of the van, and the robbers get straight into it from the drainage after they carry all the money, and they mount the van. They are good to go. Mario remarks that this must be the most expensive van in the world right now. While police sirens are heard, luckily for them, the police car just drives away, looking for the robbers. Later, the robbers sit with the cash, and they smile while looking at it. They are happy because their operation was more than successful. The robbers take their separate ways soon, and for a while they live the lives they have always dreamed of. However, things change due to Alberto, who was caught by his wife dating other women. His wife wants to avenge him and goes to the police to tell them that her husband is one of the men who robbed the bank. Alberto was arrested first and he cracked under the pressure. One by one, the rest of the robbers were arrested until Fernando was put behind bars as well. A couple of years later, Fernando was released, and Mario waited for him just outside jail. The two old pals commented that they both retired, and they went about their lives. With this, the movie ends.